This is Adria Estribou, and I'll be channeling Angels Ariel and Raphael today about who knows what, but something about what's in our present moment for humankind on Earth. That's the scope. It's pretty wide. So lovely to see you, feel you all with me here today. Welcome, and at any time you can type questions or comments in the chat. I will check those out periodically. This is Angel Raphael. So, a glorious dawn, that's our theme for today. Some months back we spoke about that moment just before the dawn, when you know it's coming and the birds know it's coming and there's that little bit of pull. And so you can almost just through imagining and knowing it will come feel a bit relieved or released from the oppression, the sorrow, and so on. But now we're fully in the dawn. So in this instance, we don't mean the dawning of a new era. Yes, globally speaking, we're in that dawn, but that's a dawn that's taking place over 5 or 7 years, right? So we don't mean to pinpoint this day or this month as a particular dawn that's that wide. But in terms of the energies feeling open and clear and bright again after a long dark night, yes, we're here in the dawn now. So it's no longer about holding on and hoping and using all of your tools to just get through the darkness. It's more about basking in the light now. So receive, trust what's coming. It seems like easy out of nowhere, out of a long struggle. It's true. It's not a hoodwink. No one's out there trying to falsely give you presents. It really is coming through for you now. So enjoy. You know, there are seasons to anything in human life. Absolutely. That's part of the nature of life on planet Earth, being human. However, it's all right to just enjoy when it's in a particularly lovely moment, and this is one of those. We'd say the next 2-4 months are more lovely in nature. More of that quality of dawn, fresh beginning, gentle light. That light photographers use, right? The early dawn or after sunset is that there's a certain glow without the harshness of the noonday sun that's just lovely, and everyone looks good in that light. So you might even find your attitudes towards others, relationships, things, circumstances have a little bit of this rosy dawn glow, like everything looks a bit at its best. So just enjoy that. Yes, it's seasonal. Yes, in some sense it won't last, but it is real. As real as your life here is very real. It's not you perhaps are somewhat close to immortal, but your body is not, the lifetime is not for most of you. So that doesn't mean it's not real. So just because this lovely dawn glow might be only 2 to 4 months before a new season comes in for a little while, doesn't mean it's not real or that you have to mistrust it or think badly about it or have some sorrow around it because it won't last. We would say, conversely, enjoy it while it's here. Dawn brings the time for different types of practices. Night is for introspection, perhaps loneliness, sleep, lethargy, and so on. Dawn brings a certain brightness. So what are those qualities of thinking, reflection, doing, being that fit with the dawn space? If you focus on those qualities now, the new beginnings, the fresh starts, looking at things with a softer vantage point, a softer glow, those things are going to be very, very supported in this time. Yes, endings and leavings and uphill climbings can be supported as well, but it's a particularly potent if you're doing those baby fresh start, soft, gentle, gold light type of things in this phase. And this is globally. We're not talking about spring just in some northern hemisphere. We mean life on Earth right now feels like this in terms of the quality of the energies and what's supported. So solar and magnetic changes are a little softer in this time. So physically you have less adaptation to do or resilience that's needed in terms of struggling against so much change or atmospheric pull that's not really anything to do with your life expression but has a lot to do with your physical being. There have been a lot of challenges along those lines of late, right? Last 6 months. So that gets softer. There will be some more peaks and valleys of those kinds of magnetic and solar activities. It's part of the change to the new era, so it's not done, but you'll have a rest from that for a good while here. And you don't really need to bolster yourself for the next wave. There's not so much. There are a few technologies, alien technologies, that are helpful, but for the most part, that's just something, like ice storms. Well, they come, and when they get here, you worry about it, put on an extra sweater then. You don't really have to do anything in advance for the most part for that kind of activity that might occur coming up here on the planet. So mostly what we wanted to say to you is you don't have to mistrust the good news that's coming your way right now, or that shift in feeling that suddenly feels like something is possible that wasn't for a long, long while. Yes, you don't have to mistrust that. There is a shift here, and when it's a collective shift, it means no matter what's happening in your personal sphere, where you are in your growth moments or your own trajectory of your life as you're walking it, you're influenced by these energies. Doesn't mean you can't sleep during the day, for example. Some people do that, or do the most challenging things at dawn. You can do anything you like. You're not limited to those soft and friendly newborn kind of feelings, but it is a bit of a honeymoon again, a bit of feeling that life is worth being in love with again. So you can trust it's not just a day or an hour. That's the season we're in here now on Earth for a little while, 2 to 4 months. So you can enjoy and not be so on edge. Am I going to lose it by tomorrow? Is it gone on Tuesday? Flow with it, take advantage in that sense, or just enjoy the respite from the hard time. But it will last a bit here. This is Angel Raphael again, yes, still. If you have questions, you can type those. If not, we will continue a bit here on a new theme. So, parallel to the dawn, this is something else, but it's happening at the same time. Many of you are feeling a little more porous in terms of your gifts. So if gifts start coming in, and here we're talking about, as one example, perhaps third eye seeing, if you like to phrase it that way, or interdimensional hearing, those kinds of gifts. Porous meaning the translation point between the physical senses, touch and smell and sight and so on, and even brain activity, ascertaining what's going on. It's easier for those to have some interplay with other dimensional ways of sensing. So you could think of those as inner senses or interdimensional senses. Both are right. So those may be opening up more here. It's again parallel, not quite the same thing as dawn, but it might help you feel like it's a good thing instead of a shocking thing when it happens for you. One thing we would say generally here globally is if you start to see visions or hear things, one, it's likely you're not going crazy. That's not what this is. It's not schizophrenia. And two, you don't have to understand it all right away. It's different than operating a forklift without a manual, or a speeding car or train. You don't have to feel this urgency to quickly understand what's going so that you can drive what's happening. You can just notice. And if you like it, if you like getting visions or some sense, auditory sense, oh, I think I kind of have impression of something here, then just welcome it. But don't try to grasp it or drive it right now. That's our general sense, we would say, when gifts are new. Best just to let them come in without worrying too much about what does this mean? Does this mean, what does this particular vision mean? Or because I have visions now, am I psychic? Or the mind doesn't really have to understand it all. Just be a little bit of a witness to that. And then your openness or not will be the primary indicator here, whether those gifts continue to open for you. So yourself, the different layers of yourself, and also your team are looking to, how does she respond to hearing more or seeing visions? Does she like it? Does she feel scared? So they'll help with the conduit, in other words, opening faster and brighter, or, well, maybe this isn't feeling positive for her. We'll hold off on this. So if your gifts are opening and you're not ready, they'll be there for you when you want them. And if you are ready but you feel a little confused or frustrated how they work, please give it spaciousness, give it time. And just observe and be a little happy maybe. Oh, they're coming online, great. You don't have to know anything in a mental sense more about it right now. Just enjoy it coming in. This is Adria just checking in the comments. There's a question from Justine. What does Angel Raphael mean by alien technology? And I think that was in the context of solar flares or Earth electromagnetism, something like that. This is Raphael. Yeah, so aliens, in other words, non-human life forms, they do exist from angelic perspective. That's a truth. There are many, many on Earth, or let's say floating or flying around Earth, and planetary systems with the ability to travel quite near or quickly. So a little bit like maybe some science fiction movies get it quite right. Most of the aliens around Earth right now are quite friendly. This has not been the case historically, but now it is. So you don't have to feel a sense when we say that word of any trepidation. But many races, non-human races, are very, very advanced at things that you might call like a surgery or a healing technique. Using light or sound, for example, or sometimes what you might relate to as technology, somewhat similar to but different than, let's say, computers or a quantum field, things like that. So almost to the level where it would seem like magic to the human experience, but there are very tangible technologies, suits, fields, things like that, in terms of shielding when radiations are high, or repairing from different kinds of illnesses, and things like that. So one of the things we see opening up for humankind in the next 4 years quite strongly is that interchange with alien technologies. So those are, we're not talking about artificial intelligence here, we're talking about scientific and interdimensional knowledge fields here that are different from human understanding and can be quite complementary, can be quite helpful for advancing human health, pollution, shielding against sun radiation, things like that. So one of the things that's going to start happening here is for some, let's say, earth scientists, inspiration comes. Maybe they dream something. Maybe it's sort of an intuitive sense. Well, what if I try this? So some science opens up that way. For those who are open to seeing or hearing a galactic life form, they may get visits, not abductions, visits, quite friendly ones, sharing some of these technologies, these ideas, and this kind of thing we see will be quite widespread, which opens up, again, it's still the choice of humanity on Earth to use or not to use these technologies. They're mostly quite friendly, we would say, to clean up some of the quote-unquote problems on Earth in terms of health and pollution and so on. So that's big picture, and again, there's a lot of choice points here. Does the individual scientist, for example, follow up on the dream they had or the visit they had, or do they just brush it off or forget? Things like that involve human free will and human choice. Even the best food or the best gold brick, if it's offered to you, it's your choice whether to take it or not, and that still is the case. It's not that aliens come in and take over Earth and make it quote-unquote better. But there are races who have very advanced technologies in healing and protections and pollution, rounding up pollution, things like that. So we see it as a very positive interplay here, interchange coming up between humankind and different types of beings that you might call aliens. Okay, another question. From Marian, yes, I can feel the change and opening, but I'm just gently melting what feels like an iron ring or barrier around my head at eye level. Is allowing and accepting the best way to be with it. Absolutely, yes. This is Raphael. And, for these kinds of things, we'll go broader than your question for a moment and then come back. When there's a new sensation, the human reference point is quickly fight or flight first. Is this a trap? Is it a problem? I feel something different. Am I having a brain aneurysm? Am I having a headache? It is, for those of you who like to think in terms of other beings around, is something around messing with my field? Is it a good witch or a bad witch? So all of these questions can come up. Very, very good to entertain those kinds of questions. Again, the environment around humans are very friendly right now for the most part, but there still are unfriendly elements. So this isn't for you particularly, Marian. This is broader for those of you. If you start to feel strong sensations and you're not, I don't know, this is strong here. Is it a bondage thing? Is it a growing pain? In other words, is it an opening, or did I get in some muck when I was in the grocery store and I need help clearing it out? So you can always ask your angels, hey, if this is not right for me, please clear it out. And if you have fine-tuned sense with your guides or your intuition, you can ask questions. What is this? Is this an opening? Is it a friendly galactic being around and this is the way of them alerting their presence? Is it something unfriendly or just kind of muck, like someone's bad mood in the air that I picked up? So very good to ask these kind of questions to fine-tune. Wait, what's happening? I feel something different. But you don't need to jump right to the fear point. At the same time, very, very good to ask those questions and not assume one way or the other. And again, if you don't feel confident, we feel confident in your gifts, but if you don't feel yet confident in your intuitive knowing about the answers to those questions, whether it's a feeling or a pendulum movement or a literal answer you hear, then you can always ask your angels, okay, I feel something, I don't know what it is, so I want to ask you to go in and clear out anything that I wouldn't want there if I knew about it. Things like that. You can be quite general with your angels if you're not sure. So for Marian, yes, it's an opening. And it's a little bit like people speak of those veils between worlds. Here we'd say in the new era, it's a little bit more like if you were living inside a rainbow. As you move from one color to another, there's a little bit of a sensation, a little bit of a sense of movement or prickly feeling sometimes in some places. So interdimensional travel becomes as easy now in the new human self. Many of you have already begun to transfer into that new human self. You look the same from the outside, but your abilities are getting to be quite different, where you can literally just sort of melt over or move over, nudge over to the next color over in the rainbow. So altogether, you're still living in the same space, but instead of staying in one color band, you can move back and forth. These different dimensional fields. Some fields are very good for connecting with loved ones who have passed, for example. Some are very good for knowing. Some are good for scientific know-how. So that these different bands or dimensions have different skill sets in you that perk up or become easier. The way almost as easy as naturally, let's say when you're snorkeling, what you do is you watch the fish, right? The coral swaying back and forth, and when you're walking down your neighborhood street, you're maybe watching the leaves in the trees. So similar, you're still using your eyes and so on, but when you're in a different dimension, different abilities are heightened or have a freer expression. So that's the value of moving interdimensionally and having the freedom to do so without being locked into just one. In the past, in contrast, we're calling Old Earth, which is 3 to 5 years ago, depending on who you are, because some people took this early and some are just getting into it now. It was a little bit more like being very, very fully in third dimension. And if you got it right or someone gave you the magic trick, you could astral travel or meditate into a different plane or something like that. But daily life was very fixed, third dimensional for the most part. Of course, there's always exceptions. Now, that's the exception. Holding oneself inside third dimension is a fear-based choice. It's still open. So some of your friends and family may be hanging on for years in this kind of way of living very firmly in third dimension, but it's not imposed from the outside anymore. It's not an environmental condition, it's a choice. So from angelic perspective, when it's a choice, that's wonderful. You're using your free will. It's not necessarily a lesser than choice. But it's not an environmental imposition any longer, or just the way things are. Good, this is Adria. I think we're going to wrap up soon, but if you have any other questions, feel free to type in the chat. And theme of the month, let's see, we're in May. Theme of the month is expansion. So there's still a few more. They're all on Saturdays now. Angel transmission next Saturday. And then theme of the month for June, just announced by the angels, but not yet in your email box, is change. So there'll be a play shop and 2 angel transmissions on that topic of cellular and other change next month. So everything's on Saturdays now at the same time, starts at 3 o'clock Central. Good, so I don't see any other questions here, so angels will wrap up for us, I think. This is Raphael. Yes, so circling back now to theme is a new dawn. Even if dawns have happened thousands of times in your life, it's still a precious thing. So this dawn will be not quite like any other dawn, but maybe similar to many you have lived through. So you know the qualities of this time and where you want to take it. But our role is just to let you know what you can expect generally environmentally from the energy fields in these next few months. So welcome to the dawn phase. Thank you to this gorgeous angels for speaking. This is Adria, and thank you to each of you for tuning in to make that possible. And I love sharing this news with you and being able to be a part of it. So thank you so much, and see you next month here on YouTube, or if you want to visit my website for the other Saturdays, it's adriaestribou.love, and I'll type that in the comments after the video goes up in case you need that website. So much love to each of you. See you next time.